Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. So, a few months ago, I made a video that was a deep dive into Josh Duggar and his family, who are a quiverful family with an overwhelming number of children and now grandchildren as well. From what I can remember, it's 20 children and 20-something grandchildren. This is a big, big family. Josh Duggar is, I believe, the eldest of these children, definitely the eldest male child, and this video I made focused on how they've all been absolute hypocrites when it comes to covering up and protecting Josh for all his disgusting and illegal behaviour. There is an update on the family. I'm not going to be talking about Josh and his case specifically today. However, I am going to be talking about the father and grandfather of the family, Jim Bob Duggar, who has decided to run for a Senate seat. If you're not aware of the background and context of this family, I really recommend watching that video in full. I will leave it linked in the description below, and there'll be a link on screen right now. Otherwise, I'll just give a quick summary of the parts that are going to be relevant to today's video now. Content warning for this part, I am going to be mentioning mistreatment of children, which may be difficult for a lot of people to hear. It's difficult for me to talk about. It's horrific, but you can skip forward to the timestamp that is on screen now if you want to skip this bit. So Jim Bob Duggar is the father to Josh Duggar and 19 other children. Years ago, when Josh was a teenager, Jim Bob ran for a Senate seat on the platform that all child molesters and rapists should get the death penalty. Meanwhile, Jim Bob was covering up for the fact that Josh had molested 5 girls, including some of his younger sisters. Josh then went on to be involved in a number of scandals and crimes, and is currently facing considerable legal consequences for possessing revolting and indecent images of children. While some of Josh's sisters have denounced this repulsive and, to be frank, unforgivable behaviour, parents who, let's be honest, enabled this behaviour have not, and they still seem to be supporting him. Therefore, with all this going on in the family, Jim Bob thinks it is, for some reason, the perfect time to run for Senate again. Absolutely ridiculous. That said, I figured it would be an interesting and informative video to take a critical look at Jim Bob Duggar's website and his whole campaign around this Senate seat that he's running for. Fair warning here, I am completely biased in this situation. I have absolutely no respect for people who hurt children, and I have absolutely no respect for people who protect and enable child predators, and Jim Bob is no exception. Take that as you will. I do generally try and be unbiased and as balanced as possible in my videos. I do try and see things from both sides. A lot of the times when I review books and stuff, I don't really have preconceptions of the authors going into it, but in this case I will absolutely say I do not like Jim Bob Duggar. Simple as that. So before we take a look at the website, it is currently 10 p.m. at night and I have had a very, very long couple of days, so we're going to have a nice little glass of wine as we talk about this very serious and very heavy topic, because I need a little bit of joy right now. Today's wine is a new one that I'm trying. This is a Capset Picpoul de Pinet. Picpoul is literally my favourite white wine, but I've not tried this particular brand before, so very, very keen to try it out. It's a 2020 wine, which apparently, oh, it's still in French. Apparently it is exuberant and powerful with flavours that are exotic and floral. There you go. It's best served with, oh, I don't know that word, and seafood, salads, or simply as an aperitif. Oh. There's English underneath. Well, I'm an idiot. Perfect as an aperitif or paired with seafood, fish, or salads. That's not an exact translation. The English is a lot simpler than some of the stuff on there. Apparently this is from the south of France as well. It's very fun. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of my rambling. Let's try it. Oh, it's a nice one. Oh, it's really, really drinkable. This is lovely. I've got to say, I don't like white wines that have an obvious smell when you drink them. So this is a weird thing as well. One of my kind of like more sensitive sensory issues is with smell, and I can't stand too many strong smells. Generally it's the same with people. Either I like their natural body odor or I don't, and if I don't, I find it really difficult to spend time with them. So anyway, I'm very, very sensitive to smells in general. So if a white wine has too strong of an odor, I can't really drink it. This has barely anything, which I like, and the flavor is just, it's not too dry, but it's not sweet either. It's just nicely in the middle. I'm not very good, I don't really have a good palate, so I can't tell you what it's got hints of, this and this and this, but it's just a very nice, very drinkable wine. I do like it. Good wine. Wine out of 10. Would definitely buy a bottle again. Pretty good. Not bad for, I think it was like 7-8 quid, something like that, so you can't really go wrong, can you? Anyway, let's take a look at this website now we've got the fun stuff out the way. So Jim Bob is running for a seat in the Arkansas State Senate District 7, and he says that Northwest Arkansas is my lifelong home. It's where my wife Michelle and I raised our 20 children. It's where we've grown our small business. It's where we've built a life centered around our faith, family, and friends. It's also where you helped cover up the fact that your eldest son molested a bunch of children. It's also where one of your close friends and a man who helped you cover up for that son was convicted of possessing indecent images of children. Yeah, you've definitely done a lot of stuff in Arkansas, Jim Bob. Like, I can't even just be snarky, this stuff genuinely makes me so angry. If you've seen the original video, like, you'll know it was like a whole deep thing and a whole cover-up, and it makes me genuinely upset to even think about it. It's just, so much of what Josh did could have been prevented had his parents gone to the authorities when they found out what was happening. And so much of what he did later in life could also potentially have been prevented by getting him counselling or taking some kind of legal action. And the fact that all this was preventable and people knew about it and still continue to cover it up and enable him really bothers me. Jim Bob goes on to say, I'm running for state senate because these are unprecedented times in our nation, which I certainly agree with that sentiment. I do not, however, agree with his solution. Now more than ever, we need a bold voice that is pro-family, pro-business, pro-gun, and pro-life. It's time for conservatives to demand courageous leadership that puts Arkansas families, jobs, and our constitutional liberties first. I look forward to being your voice in the Arkansas State Senate. Now, maybe this is because I'm English and I've grown up in a country where most people do not have guns and most people do not have access to guns. So you never have to worry about who's carrying and who isn't. You walk down the street and you don't have to be thinking, ooh, do any of these people have a gun? Because chances are, no. None of them do. They just aren't a part of everyday life here. And sure, there's always going to be criminals who will get guns on occasions, but even that isn't hugely common here. And sometimes you'll have farmers on big estates who have like a shotgun or something like that. But again, the process of getting that and applying for it is fairly complex and, not all that common these days either. But on the whole, the average person just doesn't have a gun. They're not part of our everyday culture at all. It's not something we really have to worry about, and as such, I think regulating and restricting access to guns works. I'm a big fan of it. I'm also someone who has been to America, and it actually scared me how easy it is to not only get a gun, but just gain access to a gun. So while we were over in Texas back in 2019, and it was when I was there for Faithless Forum actually, and I'm really sad that I couldn't go to Faithless Forum this year. It just sort of came at a bad time for me when, I'm still working through some stuff and I didn't think it was a good time for me to go flying to another country and whatever. So I didn't go this year, but hopefully next year it'll be good, and it looks like everyone had a really good time and I'm really happy for them. So anyway, not the point. Back in 2019, when I was in Texas for 2 weeks for Faithless Forum, Thomas and Ocean took a bunch of us to a shooting range while we were out there, and it was literally like I handed over my passport, filled out a form with my name, and just ticked some boxes saying I don't have a criminal record and I'm not on antidepressants, which I don't think either of those were actually checked because, I was on antidepressants at the time, and I just said, what should I put for this? And Thomas said, just put no, and I was like, well, that's a lie, but okay. And within 15 minutes of being there, in the time it took me to sit on the floor and cuddle a dog, I was handed a couple of pistols and an AK-47. That is terrifying. I also find it incredibly ironic that these people like Jim Bob, who are pro-gun, are also pro-life. So it's okay to have a gun to defend yourself when you think your life or your family's life or even just your quality of life is in danger. In those cases, in his mind, it's okay to injure and potentially kill another fully sentient person with a gun in self-defense, but it's never okay to remove a bundle of cells from your body even when it's not sentient yet. That logic just doesn't make sense in my mind. You're like, yeah, no, it's totally okay for me to have this gun to potentially shoot people with if they do me harm, but you're saying that I'm not allowed to remove a bundle of cells from my body because you value life. You don't value the person's life who you're potentially going to shoot. I guess for people like Jim Bob, all that matters to him is his personal quality of life and not the quality of life of the person who is forced to give birth against their will or the unwanted child who is born into this world without a choice. The hypocrisy continues too with his views about how the government are meddling too much and how he wants more privatisation and is pro-business and anti-Marxist and so on. So he literally wants the government to stay out of everyone's business but absolutely insert themselves into people's uteruses. He thinks that what a person with a uterus does with their body is more the government's business than deciding what tax you're paying and how the government can provide social care for you. There is no logic here. only selfishness. Each of these policies that Jim Bob says he's running on can be traced back to what suits him as an individual and his family, not what's best for society as a whole. Over on his Why I'm Running page, he starts out with this whole story about living on love and starting out with nothing, and it's pretty generic for the most part. He also left out the whole part of his story about his family's successful TV show bringing in a ton of money, and how one of his children is a criminal and has committed fraud several times, but whatever. He also has a specific section for why I'm running for Arkansas State Senate now. And again, it's mostly generic, but with a few interesting little jabs here and there, like this part, which really bothered me. We need someone with a backbone to speak up to honour our police, firefighters, and military veterans who have sacrificed so much to keep us safe. And I mean, what does this even really mean? As far as I'm aware, most people are super respectful of and thankful to the people who do these kinds of jobs and put their lives at risk for the benefit of others. And having a politician come along and say, hey guys, respect them, isn't going to change anything or make anything better, because the people who respect these people already will, and so on. What I think this actually is a dig at the Black Lives Matter movement. That's all I can think this is, which again is kind of like strawmanning the Black Lives Matter movement in general, because Black Lives Matter isn't against the police in general. They're not disrespecting hard-working officers who actually do their jobs and protect people. They're literally just calling out the douchebags who abuse their positions of power, who aren't protecting the people they're supposed to. They're asking for basic reforms to put an end to racial profiling and ensure those kinds of people can't harm anyone. They're not disrespecting actual hard-working officers. They're just asking for black people to be treated fairly. It's as simple as that. There is a problem with systematic racism in many police forces, but America's in particular. And asking for that to be changed doesn't mean you're disrespecting the officers who are actually protecting people. All I'm hearing from Jim Bob here with statements like this is, I'm going to choose to blatantly ignore all the important work that Black Lives Matter is doing and tell you that if you are anti-racist and speak out about it, then you have no backbone. He's literally finding a cause that is doing amazing things and deciding to just insult people over it because, I don't know, why wouldn't you support it? There's no logical reason. It just seems like thinly veiled racism masquerading as patriotism to me. He goes on to say, we have seen our freedom of speech censored on social media if we dare question the liberal left's propaganda, which literally translates to, why won't you let me spread misinformation? This isn't fair. Now we are seeing President Biden advocating for forced vaccines for our children, with an experimental untested shot. Parents, not the government, should make decisions for their own children. The liberals scream, it's my body, when they want to end the life of an unborn child, but would gladly force mandatory vaccines upon everyone without hesitation. Gonna be honest, an unwanted pregnancy does far more damage to a body than a vaccine ever will. But I mean, of course he's anti-vax, of course he is. There is a huge difference between taking steps to try and ensure herd immunity to protect the lives of literally millions of people by asking others to get vaccinated, and forcing a person to use their body as an incubator for another human being that they don't want, and then forcing that child to be born into a system that cannot really take care of it properly because it's already underfunded and overworked. Jim Bob says he will fight to allow parents to decide what's best for their children's education and healthcare, but he won't let those same adults decide whether or not to grow babies in their body. So if a person is forced to become a parent, but after that they get all the freedom they want to potentially damage that kid all they want. So messed up. Hi, gorgeous girl. It's okay. It's okay. Good girl. Wee, well done, baby. Hi, Piglet. Hi. You saying hi? Being on video? What do you think of this? You know, it's always good to have a puppy break, isn't it? Usually is. He says, I will fight to be an advocate for our seniors, our veterans, and the unborn. And I actually believe this because it's so much easier to be an advocate for the unborn and then just ignore and forget about them once they're born than to actually do anything that actively helps real human people who are currently alive. You don't see him actively advocating for more funding for social care. You don't see him actively advocating for more benefits to help new and single parents. You don't see him fighting to raise minimum wage or provide more maternity and paternity leave or help with childcare so parents can go back to work and earn a living. You don't see him advocating for free healthcare to ensure that those who he is wanting to force to give birth won't go into debt because of it and can actually afford healthcare for themselves and their children for the rest of their lives. All those things would benefit families a whole lot more than forcing pregnant people who don't want to be pregnant to give birth. He says, I will fight to allow taxpayers and small businesses to keep more of what they earn, by which he simply means, I don't understand how taxes can actually be a huge benefit to society as a whole. I'm just thinking short-term and selfishly. I don't understand why so many rich people are against paying taxes. It just absolutely blows my mind. Well, actually, the rich people who do this are the ones who've never been poor and don't understand how important things like social care and free healthcare actually are. I really do not mind paying taxes, and I do believe that the more I earn, the more I should pay. And the more I earn, the bigger a percentage I should be paying. I fully believe that, and obviously follow through with it. I pay my taxes. I grew up in a family where my parents earned very little, and we had very little growing up. At one point, I've said this before, there were 7 of us living in one house on only my mum's income of about £9,000 a year. Without child tax credit, without certain benefits, without free healthcare, we would not have survived. We would have been homeless, without food. Most likely a lot of my family would be dead right now, or at least they would have been dead a lot sooner than they did die. I was born with dislocated hips, and at one point I think the doctors were saying that they didn't know if I'd ever actually walk. My parents would not have been able to afford treatment for me if not for the NHS. It's thanks to the NHS that I can even walk today. My granny and my auntie both went through numerous cancer treatments over the last 20 years. Sadly, they're both dead now, but they both had a lot higher quality of life and they lived for a lot longer, thanks to the NHS. My mum has a serious thyroid problem and a really serious heart condition, all of which were treated without it costing us anything. At most, it cost about 10 quid a month in prescriptions on average. That's nothing. I personally was on antidepressants for years, and because I was a student and had low income, it didn't cost me a penny. A few months ago, I had a bit of a cancer scare and had to have a crap ton of tests, and again, didn't cost me a penny. That's thanks to the NHS and people paying their fair share of taxes. We were helped when we needed it, and because of that I am where I am today, and because of that I will continue to pay that forward and pay my fair share now to help those other families in need who can't pay it yet. What if, thanks to me, there's another kid out there who's able to walk because my taxes are paying for their treatment on the NHS? What if, thanks to me paying a little bit more taxes than someone else, another kid doesn't lose a parent, is able to get a warm meal every night, is able to get a good education and better themselves and earn money and pay it forward again? To me, that is completely worth it. People of my income level and above, even I don't earn that much at all, I'm just comfortable, but for those of us who aren't in poverty is what I'm saying, paying our fair share of taxes and paying more and paying a high percentage on the more we earn, it's going to mean what? We buy a few less clothes every month, or we live in a slightly smaller house than we would otherwise, or we eat out a little bit less. That's it. But if that's all it takes to keep contributing to helping those who need it, make sure they get food every night, to make sure they have a roof over their heads, to make sure they have healthcare when they need it, and education, and social care when they need it, I am more than happy to do that. I will sacrifice my luxuries to make sure everyone gets the basics. And I think anyone who thinks otherwise, Jim Bob included, is just selfish. Anyway, sorry, rant over. Jim Bob goes on to say, I will not allow the liberal left, social media or fake news to define me and my family. Except it's not fake news, is it? Your son is literally a child predator. That is a fact. Stop pretending otherwise. This isn't a rumour made up by social media. This is actual fact. This happened. Like so many other families, we too have faced crises, difficulties and heartbreak. Cancel culture and the radical left want to keep us from being involved in politics. They say because our family has faced problems, we should shrink away. No, we say that because you protected and enabled a child molester and allowed him to go on and hurt more children and possess indecent images of children, on top of all the fraud and other crimes he committed, then you shouldn't be involved in politics. We say you're selfish and only think about yourself and the short-term benefits of your policies, and that's why you shouldn't be involved in politics. This isn't some small, silly thing. This isn't, cancel culture. This isn't 30 years ago he made a slightly off-colour joke, let's all rip into him on Twitter. No, this is people saying he's an irresponsible, selfish, dangerous man. Do not give him any more power because he's likely to abuse it. If having that view makes me relentlessly unkind, as Jim Bob says, I will happily accept that title. And I get it. The initial cover-up with Josh happened a long time ago, and I understand that some people may hear this and think, well, maybe he regrets it now. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he's learned from this whole situation. People can grow and change and want to do better in the future, and I would be all for supporting that if he hadn't also said, I have been tried and tested in the public spotlight and never changed. Therefore, there is absolutely no hope for this man. He's disgusting, he's dangerous, as is his son. And that is pretty much it. That's most of the main content on his website and most of the material I found that he's put out about running in this election. But I have to say, I do think he is a selfish, short-sighted man who cares only about himself and his family. And I do think if he was elected into any position of power in politics, then he would be a danger to society. I do not think people should be voting for him, and I am mostly disgusted by what I've read, and I'm disgusted by his actions in the past and the present. So there you go, those are my thoughts for today. Thank you for listening. I know some people won't agree with me, but that's okay. You're not going to change my mind. This is one of the few things I'm completely dead set on. Simple as that. But for now, thank you for watching. Please do let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And if you're new here, it would be great if you want to subscribe, because I make more videos talking about social issues. And KYRA, come on baby, she is so ready for bed, aren't you? But yeah, if you're new here, it would be great if you want to subscribe, because I make more videos about kind of social issues like this, atheism, book reviews, literature, poetry, education stuff, all kinds of fun stuff. It's very varied, and it would just be great to have you along on this journey with me. So yeah, thank you for watching today. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and comment, because it really helps with engagement and getting more people to see my videos. But for now, thank you for watching. I appreciate you a lot, and I'll see you again really, really soon.